Hello everybody and welcome back to the Creating a Creole project. Our first step after deciding on which two languages we will be working with is the vowel system. As a reminder, French and Malagasy are the two languages we have decided to work with. And for the actual cultural and historical background that we will be setting up, it's important to note that here French will be the superstrate and Malagasy will be the substrate, meaning that in the society that we're developing, the French speakers are more dominant or have a more setting as a ruling class than the Malagasy. This is important because that means that the substrate speakers will be trying to accommodate the vocabulary and communication of the superstrate. Looking at the Malagasy vowel system, we see that it is a 5-vowel system, and according to some sources, even 4. This is a little hypocritical if you look back at my previous video, because I said I was going to avoid the 4-vowel system. There was a whole reason with sources that confused me of diphthongs and if they were counted as full phonemes. But that was after I'd already decided on using Malagasy, and I didn't want to change my mind. The vowels of French are much more numerous. We need to eliminate the nasals in French because they are not realized in Malagasy. We will come back to this later. So let's eliminate them now. Now we can look at the Malagasy and French vowels one on top of the other. For those unfamiliar with a chart like this is the articular space of one's vocal tract. The higher a vowel sound is on the chart, the more closed the mouth is, or jaw, or tongue, or larynx, or whatever articulatory gesture is being made. And the further it is to the bottom, the more open that space is. Both the front high vowel E and the back high vowel U are realized in about the same articulatory space in both languages, so we will not be touching them. We do need to address the French front vowel of U. I've decided to convert U into a diphthong, since we already know that Malagasy accommodates for many diphthong sounds, and U sound does not seem to be too far out of the realm of possibilities. The other sounds of French are going to be merged. In the articulatory area where an English speaker would say the O and the Ah sound, in French there are multiple sounds, and in Malagasy there is a single. We are going to merge these into one single sound, and we will talk about the consequences of this on the next section. We're going to have an even larger merge when we come to the E side of the chart. There are 4 E sounds surrounding one Malagasy E sound, so we are actually going to combine these into one. And to create an additional contrast so that we don't end up with just a 5-vowel system, the French schwa, we're going to make phonemic, or I'm going to try to make it phonemic. Usually the schwa is just a reduction of a full vowel in an unstressed syllable. We are going to work to make the schwa a phonemic sound, which means it contrasts in meaning with the other vowels. So the consequences of merging so many vowel sounds is homophones. For example, the English short vowels of I and E in the example words sit and set are often difficult for some speakers to pronounce because in their first languages, these are not separate sounds that carry meaning. Another example would be the difference between let and late. In English, these are 2 separate phonemes that carry meaning, meaning the word let and the word late have different meanings because of the vowel sound, but in some languages this distinction does not exist, so producing these for a language speaker who doesn't have this distinction is much more difficult. The problem with this is when these second language speakers are speaking to the first language speakers, homophones are appearing that did not originally exist. This could cause some confusion. If there is some confusion among the first language speakers, another change is going to need to happen in order for this meaning to get carried along. Either the single vowel can become a diphthong, another particle or another clarifying word addition of some kind can help to differentiate the two words, Or one word might be lost completely, and another word that is easier for the second language speakers to pronounce will become more popular and more commonly used. If there is no confusion between these two homophones, perhaps because they always appear in completely separate contexts, that it would be impossible for them to ever be truly confused, it is possible that the difference between these two phonemes could be lost completely, and thus multiple phonemes would fall into one category. If we look at our final vowel inventory here, which again is tentative, everything is not set in stone. Some things will be changed down the road. We have a 6-vowel system, including the schwa in the center, which will be phonemic and carry its own meaning and not just a vowel reduction. Also, coming back to the nasals that we dropped from French, I've decided to turn them into vowels that are distinguished by length, because this could create some very interesting dynamics down the road that when we evolve this language from the Pidgin into the Creole, some very interesting, exciting things could appear. Last, I simply want to look at a chart of some example words of how, in theory, a Malagasy speaker would pronounce some basic French words. In French, pronounced un, deux, trois. In our vowel reduction would be un, deux, trois. Notice that the word for one, which is usually a nasal, is actually an elongated E sound, and that the word for three does not change, for the most part. Bonjour in French, reduced to the vowel inventory that we have set up, becomes bonjour. Again, this is another example of the elongated vowel in replacement to a nasal, but the U sound here was not touched. And in a moment of sheer luck, I discovered a source that compared the interlanguage phonology of Malagasy, English, and French, and while I'm not going to follow their results completely, they very much validated my choices of mergers here as a very realistic happenstance. Thanks everybody for watching. Please come back for part 3 where we're going to tackle the consonants. And once we know what our sounds can be, we can move on to the fun part of creating words and grammar.